Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Abhishek Bal. In today's tutorial, we're going to discuss about the treasury bonds and the relevance of treasury bond in the context of the cheapest to deliver bond. This tutorial is targeted towards the FRM Part 1 and the CFA Level 2 and the CFA Level 3 students. Now, many a times I have actually come across a general query that the students and the examinees, they find the very concept of the deliverable CTD is pretty complex, and obviously the relevance and the host of other things associated with them. And I've thought that it would be nice that if we could actually come out with a video tutorial delineating the whole concept and threadbare displayed in front of you, starting with the very genesis of the problem itself. Okay, so let's refresh a couple of things, a few of the concepts here. When we are talking about forward, essentially we are talking about, let's say, two parties. One is a long to the forward contract, another is a short to the forward contract. As you might be knowing that the obligation on the longs part is actually to honor the contract in the form of actually purchasing at the contracted price, regardless of where the spot price goes once the forward contract approaches or is at the maturity. As against that, the short to the contract is supposed to deliver the underlying against the consideration of the contract itself. So both of them have their rights and responsibilities, and the contract as such is obligatory on both of the parties. However, the contract also embeds a lot many clauses, lot many exit clauses, lot many closeout clauses, and the other alternatives. So what are those? So first, of course, we talked about the deliverable underlying. Of course, that's what the short is supposed to do at the maturity of the contract. The short could also cash settle. There could be an early closeout of the contract itself, especially in the event that if the contract is extremely adversarial to one of the parties. So the losing party may actually request the winning party that to actually terminate the contract midway, and the losing party will suitably compensate at the present value basis of the expected cash flow to the winning party. Second is, of course, the alternate delivery arrangement. So what do we mean by alternate delivery arrangement? So let's imagine this scenario of the market itself. So if you talk about an exchange, or we are talking about a forward contract, let's say we are talking about two parties, one is a long and another is a short to the contract. Say the underlying is a Tesla bond and it's a 1 year contract. So it's a 1 year forward contract that we are talking about essentially, wherein the short will deliver this Tesla bond to the long. Okay, now the intention is absolutely there, but come 1 year, that is at the maturity, there is an acute shortage of the Tesla bond physically in the market. That means in the spot market, the Tesla bonds are just not available for the short to purchase and then make the uh, succeeding delivery to the long. So what happens in such a situation? The contract gravitates toward the default without practically any fault of short, right? But if you think of the market will have to preserve the sanctity of the contract itself. Otherwise, the market participants will lose confidence in the market, and obviously such kind of contracts will not come into being. So to preserve the sanctity of the market, there are certain flexibilities that are granted to the short to the contract. The short may choose the time, the location, and the quality of the underlying delivery. This is especially true, the later part is especially true in case of commodity contracts, wherein a, a short, wherein the short to the contract may deliver X quality of food grain, let's say wheat, in lieu of Y quality, which was the original contract clause, right? But obvious, when you differ the quality, the quantity may also differ. But natural that if you're delivering an inferior quality, the quantity may be more than the original contract itself. Now let's return to the Tesla bond itself. Now, in our example, we say that there is an acute shortage of Tesla bonds. So what are the alternate arrangements? So alternate arrangement could be A, to actually deliver a suitable automobile company's bond that may be outstanding in the market. But the point out here is that Again, if somebody has to deliver, there has to be a host of credit evaluation granted, even though there might be credit rating agency who might have already valued or they have already established the credibility of the bond. But the onus again lies on the long to the contract in order to verify what he is going to get out of this, right? So the next best alternative, and perhaps the best alternative in such case, is actually to deliver an equivalent government security. More often than not, these are basically the T bonds and T notes. Mostly those are T bonds. So how the next thing is the how they was going to work out. So the first thing out here there is I'm going to introduce a certain thing. One is called the conversion factor, and second is basically what is called as the cash price. Okay. So what is a conversion factor? But obviously we understand that a GSEC, for example, a T bond, they are going to be highest rated. Any other bond, especially the corporate bonds, are going to be inferior to that. So the the conversion factor is so determined that for every, let's say, for every three bonds of Tesla, for every three bonds of Tesla out here, uh, maybe two bonds of government security would be required. Evidently, the conversion factor becomes 1.5. If it is 1 is to 1, that would mean that for every deliverable Tesla bond, only one T bond is to be delivered, which will seldom be the case, right? Mostly the conversion factor varies between 1 to 1. Let's say 5. At times, it has also been seen to be varying from 0.9 to 1.6 as well. But obvious that on any given day, the liquidity of the G6 could also be somewhat less. So that may actually enhance the spread, and thereby the conversion factor succeedingly may come down. So as I said, that there are host of facilities that are being provided to the short in order to see that the contract does not default, especially not because of any fault attributable to the short. So I discussed already the alternate arrangement, and I discussed about the conversion factor. Now let's talk about the cash price. So if you do have some understanding of the bond, the cash price is nothing, which is also known as the dirty price, is the clean price plus the accrued interest, and this is true for any bond. What do we mean by clean price and the accrued interest? Well, it goes like something like this. So if a bond, let's say we are talking about a 3-year bond. So we are at time t is equal to 0, this is time t is equal to 1, time t is equal to 2, and time t is equal to 3. In each of these period, the bond is going to make one annual coupon. Okay. So whenever you're valuing the bond on the coupon paying date, that price is called as the clean price of the bond. But your futures contract need not always or need not actually necessarily coincide with this coupon paying date. It could be anytime in between two coupons. So that means there is an accrued interest that is actually being that actually will have to be considered whenever you are trying to price a derivative based on these underlyings. Am I right? So this is the whole concept of the cash price of a bond. Now, there are other few things that we need to understand out here. That is, first is that these conversion factors are being published by most of the regulatory authorities or most of the authorized market participants. In US, that is supposed to be the CBOT. So CBOT publishes the conversion factor for each of the bond. Obviously, I'm not going by the name calling of the bond. It is being decided by the rating itself. So maybe the AA security on any given day, the CBOT may say that for the corresponding T bond, the conversion factor is 1.1 is to 1.2, right? And for the B rated bond, it could be 1 is to, let's say, 2.5, so on and so forth. The idea is that CBOT obviously does its own calculation, and each day it publishes the corresponding conversion factor. So we have now successfully glossed over a couple of concepts. One is in fact, few concepts. So first is the need for the alternate delivery arrangement we talked about. And in that, we also discussed about that how and why the GSECs and especially the T bonds become an automatic choice. and why it should be so. And then we talked about something called as the cash price of a bond. And fourth, we talk about the conversion factor and how the conversion factor actually affects the choice of the bond that the short must deliver. Because please remember that the short is being provided with a host of flexibility in terms of the time, location, quality of the underlying that he may deliver as an alternate arrangement. We also talked about the we talked about all of them. So here, if we have understood up until here, let's understand then how the quoted bond price of the alternate arrangement or the alternate bond should be. So the quoted bond price is nothing but obviously the clean price of the bond. Clean price of which bond? Clean price of the alternate delivery, not the original, right? But obvious that when you add the accrued interest, because as I said before, that when you actually sign on the contract, when the contract is going to get matured, that has got really nothing to do with the bond's own coupon paying debt, right? So the accrued interest in more often than not will have to be considered. All right. So now that we have gotten through all of these concepts, let's understand the motivation for short. So the short's motivation out here is, as the contract stipulates, it will have to make available the necessary underlying, right? Wherein it may face something called as short squeeze, which will force the short to actually go in for an alternate delivery arrangement. This is anyway embedded as part of the contract itself. Now, when it does so, it will now have certain choices. The question is that which bond to deliver. Now, as before, you may understand that the short will have to purchase this particular underlying from the market and then accordingly deliver. So that means that there is certain input cost that is associated with it, and the output cost, that is the price that the short would receive, that is anyway prefixed, which is actually the part of the contract itself, which is the contracted price. But in any case, the short would like to see that if it is in loss, the loss is minimized, and if it is in profit, the profit is maximized. In other words, it would like to the extent possible, minimize its input cost, knowing that the output or the sale price is already prefixed. So the whole objective of short, in order to choose a particular deliverable bond from the basket of choices, is only to see that where the input cost is least. So if we have all of this understanding well within our disposal, let's boil down quickly to a problem, and I'm sure that this will ease up a lot of things. A short trader has entered the contract at a settlement price of 102.5 a year back. The Tesla bond was rated AA. The contract is now due for delivery. Because of the recent market volatility, the trader anticipated short squeeze and hence weighs in the options of alternate delivery. The CBOT publishes different T-bonds of similar nature with their respective conversion factor. The trader has the following choice. So there are 4 bond choices which are being given, and the quoted bond price of these, the quoted bond prices are also mentioned, and the conversion factor pertaining to each of these quoted bond prices are also being mentioned here. So we have to make a quick choice that would help minimize the cost as far as trader is concerned, and thereafter see that whether that was going to actually help him either minimize the loss or maximize the profit, as the case may be. So how do we make the choice? Well, so the way we do it is that we have to see what is the let's evaluate from the point of view of cost. So if we evaluate from the point of view of cost, we would assume here that the short to the contract is in loss. In reality, that may not be the case, need not be the case at all. But hey, a negative loss is a profit. I'm sure that you would know this, right? Just as a negative profit is a loss. So what is his what is it that is his that is he's going to get out of this? So the conversion factor, if we the way we do it is, we say it is 98 for the first bond I'm talking about. So it's 98 minus the contract settlement price was at 102.5. So we say 98 minus 102.5 multiplied by 1.01. This is choice number 1. Choice number 2 is 102 minus 102.5 into 1.1. The choice number 3 becomes, the calculation becomes 105 minus 102.5, which is the settlement price, into 1.15, which is the conversion factor. And then it is 108 minus 102.5 into 1.2. Now remember, as I have defined before, that in this case, this happens to be the input cost. This is the input cost, right? So if this value becomes positive, we would like to choose the value that is least. And if this value becomes negative, we will like to choose the value that is obviously maximum, right? So that's how we look at it, the difference to be maximum. All right. So in the first place, the cost part of it, if the net profit or net loss part of it, so it's 98 minus 102.5, so 102.5, we multiply this by 1.01, so it is minus 5.5, so this is minus of 5.5. So next one is this becomes minus 10.75. This becomes, the third one becomes minus 12.875, and the last one becomes minus 15. All right. So if we have to now choose the bond number 4 becomes our choice. Why? Because this has the maximum negative value. Remember what did I say? This is my input cost. If you turn the table around, this is the price, this is your sale price, right? This is my sale price, and this is my input price. So I'm just doing a reverse calculation out here. You could do it the other way as well. So your sale price minus input price, if you do, that is obviously your profit, right? So all of this value will become positive in that case, right? So in this case, the first value will become 5.5, the next value will become 10.75, the value after that is going to be 12.875, and the one which is at the last one, the fourth one, the value happens to be the maximum, which is 15 plus 15, which is definitely the highest profit. So the short will actually choose the bond that actually maximizes his profit, or it will minimize his loss. In this case, as I said before, we are doing cost minus sale price. So the cost minus sale price, obviously it came out to be negative, which shows us that in all the deliverables, short will be in profit. So the one we are going to choose is the one that is maximum in negative, maximum preceded with a negative sign, or the least value of all this negative. So the least value of all this negative happens to be minus 15. So we choose this one. All right. So I hope this example actually now clears up a lot many doubts, a lot many misgivings about the alternate delivery of bond. Now, let's come to a little bit harder problem. And mind you that both of the problems that I'm going to depict here, they are copyrighted at my end. Please do not try to copy them. Please do not try to republish them. That's not allowed. So this is only for the educational purposes. Suppose the alternate deliverable bond pays a 12% semi-annual coupon. The bond carries a conversion factor of 1.15 to the original contract. The quoted bond price pi, that is the alternate bond price, is 105. The risk-free rate of interest is 6% continuously compounded unless otherwise stated. And the original futures contract written on the original deliverable is for 180 days. The original bond is that of Tesla. The last coupon on the alternate CTD was paid 90 days back. Given the above, please find out the theoretical original for futures price. Now, what I want you to do is that I want you to pause this video for some time, go through this problem and appreciate the problem, because in the next slide anyway I'm going to explain this. So I want you to pause this and reread the problem once again. So let's go to the let's go to the next slide in order to understand the problem in a timeline fashion. All right, so we are at time t is equal to 0. This is exactly where we are where we are here. Okay, so we're standing at time t is equal to 0, and at time t is equal to 0, this is the original bond futures under consideration, and this is a 180-day contract, roughly 6 months contract, right? So this is the 6 months timeline for this particular contract under consideration. So the other thing that happens is, as I said, that in case of short squeeze, we need to also keep plan B, and the plan B happens to be an alternate delivery arrangement. So in place of Tesla bond, a GSEC or a TSEC is being delivered. All right, so we are talking about the GSECs or the TSEC under consideration. So the GSECs, the alternate bond, it pays coupon also semi-annually every 6 months. So it pays here and then it pays here. Okay. So now let's read out the same problem which is being depicted here in a better fashion. So our contract period is this. Any other period per se is not in our interest. However, the underlying paid its last coupon 90 days back, exactly from the point t is equal to 0. Another coupon is due 90 days hence, and then another coupon is due 270 days. But the original contract must terminate at 180 days, right? So these are understandable. So let's just read out the definition. So we are coupon number 1 here, coupon number 2 here, and coupon number 3 here. So in case of coupon number 1, as I said, that this was the last settlement. That's the last coupon was paid by the alternate bond. And now if I have to consider, so there are 3 steps involved in it. So the step number 1 is to find out the adjusted fair price of the alternate delivery bond. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is to enumerate the forward of the alternate bond. Okay. And then step number 3, of course, apply the conversion factor in order to find out the original futures, right? Okay. So when we try to find out let's then concentrate on step number 1, that we have to find out the fair price of this particular bond at time t is equal to 0, right? So at time t is equal to 0, this particular bond has already accrued 90 days worth of the semi-annual coupon. Am I right? Because the bond pays, as I say, that it's a 12% semi-annual bond. So that means 6% every 180 days, 3% every 90 days. The conversion factor happens to be 1.15. The quoted bond price of the alternate happens to be 105. The risk-free rate of interest is continuous compounded at 6%. It's a 180-day original futures contract. Okay. So we're just reproducing the same details out here. So at time t is equal to 0, as far as the first bond is concerned, the alternate bond is concerned, the alternate bond last settlement was 90 days back when it paid the coupon. The clean price at that particular point in time as determined was 105. 105. So what would be the cash price at time t is equal to 0? So the cash price would be this same clean price plus accrued interest, if any. Now from the diagram, it is clear that there is an accrued interest component out here. So what is that accrued interest component? It's basically going to be, it is paying 12%, so 6% every 6 months. So 6% multiplied by, assuming that the face value is 5, of course, face value is 100, it is going to be 6% into 180 divided by 360, so that is going to be 3%, or on a face value of 100, it happens to be 3. So the cash price in this case happens to be 105 plus 3 is equal to 108. Okay, so we found out the cash price here. So now how do we go about it? Well, in this case, there is one more thing that we need to understand, that what is a bond at the end of the day? This is nothing but the the summation of all the discounted cash flows, including the principal, right? That's what bond is all about. That means at any resetting date, any settlement date, the bond's clean price could be perfectly predicted, right? That's not an issue here. So the question comes that how do we make the adjustment as far as the cash price is concerned? Because when we have to value a bond in between two coupon dates, the cash price would have a component of the accrued interest. So we first found out the accrued interest component. So that is where we said that the accrued interest happens. With the accrued interest, that the cash price or the market price or the dirty price of the bond should be 108. So basis this, then can we find out the contract between this period and this period? This is this 180 days. The answer is no. Why? Because we still have to do one more adjustment, and that one more adjustment is that within this period, the original the alternate bond also pays one more coupon, right? So we have to, in order to find out the futures price, we have to readjust this cash flow. How do we do that? So just like our in case of our as we do that, in case of a coupon paying bond, we will discount it by deducting the present value of the cash flow on the t is equal to 0th day. So the present value of this particular coupon, that is coupon number 2, this coupon, present value of coupon 2, at which time, at time t is equal to 0, will be 6. Obviously it's going to get 6, give 6%. 6% multiplied by discounting factor, which in this case happens to be the 6% rate of interest semi-annually compounded, .06 multiplied by 90 by 365. Okay, so if you do this math, so this would come out to be somewhere, I've just done it at my end. So this comes out to be somewhere around 5.9118. So now we had the cash price. So from this cash price, we must deduct the present value of this coupon. If we do that, then it becomes 108 minus 5.9118, which it becomes, this becomes 102.088. Practically speaking, we will consider this as 102. Okay. All right. So with this now, what we have done is that we have suitably adjusted the bond's price. We adjust the bond price of the alternate, right? So now we have to enumerate the forward contract of alternate bond for the time period of 180 days, because this is our original futures contract maturity. So that we will apply the formula F0t is equal to S0 into e to the power RT, obviously RT. R is the cost of carry here. So here we have 102 into e to the power 0.06 multiplied by 180 divided by 365, because this is a 365 days year. So this will give us 105.063. Again, for brevity's purposes, we will consider this 105 only. Okay. Now, so we have found out the forward contract of which bond? If there were a forward contract that could be actually constructed on the alternate bond, not the original one. So are we done? The answer is no. Why? Because to this, in this whole contract that we found out, this whole alternate forward contract that we found out, there is one more thing that is again embedded. What is that? And that is this particular accrued interest. Because remember, this after this settlement date out here, we have to walk for another 90 odd days. That means 90 odd days coupon must be considered, or it has already been considered here, right? Because we were dealing with clean price. The clean price anyway takes care of all the future cash flows. This future cash flows could be for another 10 years also. It doesn't matter. It would have already taken care of all of that, right? It would have already incorporated all the effect of that. So that means that the futures contract of the alternate delivery bond would have already this component embedded in it. And if we are to apply the conversion factor, we will have to again adjust this. So how do we adjust this? Well, it's pretty simple. Again, we will have to first find out the possible accrued interest between time t is equal to 90 to time t is equal to 180. So this is time t is equal to 90, right? This time t is equal to 80. So between these two periods, we have to find out the accrued interest of which bond? The alternate delivery bond. So again, the same thing. It pays 6, and then so this practically becomes 3. So from this 3, what do we have to do? We have to, since it already carries the effect of it, we will have to suitably adjust. So how do we suitably adjust? So we say is a forward price between the time t and time t. This must, from this we must deduct the accrued interest. So from 105, if we deduct 3 out here, this becomes 102. And now this becomes the adjusted fair value of the alternate delivery bond basis forward contract. So there is just one more step that remains, and that is to apply the conversion factor. So the conversion factor is denoted like this. This is the quoted futures price. Quoted futures price is of the original contract. Never forget this. Multiplied by the conversion factor becomes the alternate futures price after all adjustments. So which means that the quoted futures price original is equal to alternate futures price adjusted divided by the conversion factor, which if we do the math, it becomes 102 divided by what was the conversion factor? It happens to be 1.15. So divided by 1.15. So if we do this math, 102 divided by 1.15, this becomes 88.69, roughly equal to 89, and option B becomes our chosen answer. So I hope that you found this solution. It's a little complex, I do understand. So pause the video as many times as you want, rerun the video, but do get the concept clear. I can assure you that if you have gotten these two problems under your belt, it is per se impossible to commit any error in your exam, save any calculation error, right? So for this particular problem, I'm rewriting the step for both the problems. So both the problems, I'm rewriting the step for you in order to summarize. We have already talked about a few of the notation in case you have missed out. So we talked about them again. So first is we talked about QBP. What is QBP? QBP happens to be the quoted bond price. Which bond price? It is a quoted bond price of the alternate deliverable. So this is one. Second terminology is conversion factor. Conversion factor happens to be, what is the conversion factor? Conversion factor happens to be the ratio of the alternate futures contract, alternate futures price after all adjustment divided by the quoted futures contract. What is a quoted futures contract? Quoted futures contract happens to be the original futures contract. That means it is not the alternate deliverable. It is the original futures contract. That means it has a separate underlying basis which the futures price in the first place was being actually constructed. So the problem that can come in your exam is to actually enumerate this futures price. Okay, so this is the third terminology. Accrued interest is of course the interest portion between two coupon period. So if this pays one coupon here, second coupon here, the accrued interest is basically the midway portion where the imputed coupon. You could say this as an imputed coupon, right? If these terminologies are true, so let me just summarize the first problem. And the first problem, what we did is that we did a couple of things. First is that we segregated the cash outflows and the cash inflow. That is, we are talking about the alternate delivery bond, the first problem. But obvious, for the short, he would like to either minimize loss if he is in loss, or he would want to maximize profit if he is in profit. Now, as far as short is concerned, the cash inflow is already pre-decided because this is determined by the forward contract itself. As far as cash outflow is concerned, this is the cost or the price the short will have to pay in the market in order to purchase the underlying which he is supposed to deliver to the long. So this is the cash outflow, and the cash inflow is already decided. So you could do the math. It is really very easy. All that we do, I'm just putting it in terms of formula, but the basic concept remains same. This minus this, if we take this as a profit, so you would like to see the profit being maximized. If this minus this happens to be negative, you would like to see that the negative is least negative. That's the whole concept of it. To put together in perspective, we assume this. So QFP, in this case, this is not QFP. This case, it is basically the underlying, the original underlying. So original underlying into the conversion factor minus the quoted bond price of the alternate delivery. So I've put this in mod. Please understand, you could do the either way as well. QBP minus underlying into QCF. This is from the cost perspective. Underlying into CF minus QBP. This is from the profit perspective. The rest of it, I'm sure that you would understand. Right? One more important terminology is that of the CBOT. CBOT is the one that publishes the conversion factor every day, so that you would know what is it that is at your disposal if you're short to the contract and if you're supposed to deliver the underlying. All right, so this was the first problem. The genesis of this problem I just discovered, I just laid in front of you. As far as the second problem is concerned, it is a tad bit difficult. I do admit it's a tad bit difficult, but nevertheless thoroughly enjoyable. And if you follow the steps which has been written here, all that we actually do three things only. First and foremost, we see which is the alternate, the steps that are involved here. We find out the alternate deliverable bond, right? So in this, the first step is to actually identify or actually work out the adjusted fair value of the ADB, alternate delivery bond. Because unless you find out the alternate delivery bond's fair value, but obvious, you will not be able to find out the forward contract that could be synthetically written on it. B is to work out or price the synthetic forward on the ADB. For which period? For the maturity duration of original. And number C is to apply conversion factor after doing suitable adjustment in terms of the accrued interest. In terms of accrued interest. Remember, because in the last thing, as I said, that we were in between two coupon periods as far as the alternate deliverable bond is concerned. Also, you must understand that though I have said the C3 plays no role in this contract because our contract is between these period only, t is equal to 0 and t is equal to 180, wherein C3 happens to be at t is equal to 270, which is beyond the purview of the contract itself. However, nonetheless, after this coupon was paid, we still had to adjust the accrued interest, which otherwise would have been paid at t is equal to 270. That's the only thing that is there. So I hope that this did make some sense. If you still have some query, do not forget to actually comment below and reach out to me. Hope to see you soon. Bye.